6:47 a.m., a message from my attorney. Greetings from Cheating Story Lab. No need to respond or call her. Make your way to my office immediately. She's submitting paperwork today, claiming the lottery ticket is marital property. In the dim light of my modest one-bedroom apartment, I pondered over my phone, a place where memories of our shared home, purchased jointly with Brielle and me contributing the down payment, still lingered. A house where she now resides with Connor Hastings, my ex-partner in business and her alleged longtime lover. The winning lottery ticket, worth $3 million, was securely stored in First National's safety deposit box. It was a set of numbers I'd played weekly for 5 years, my father's birthday, my mother's birthday, and the day I launched my first business. Numbers that held significance for me. Numbers she once derided as wasted money on unrealistic hopes. I had won 2 months following our divorce filing, and now she demanded half. Drove in quiet contemplation to Malcolm Green's office, maintaining a firm grip on the steering wheel. Over the past 8 months, he'd garnered useful wisdom. Neither panic nor anger offers solutions. Instead, what matters is documentation, preparation, and the patience to play the long game while others see you as just a heartbroken fool. Upon my arrival, Malcolm was already seated, 3 manila folders arranged before him. At 62, a seasoned divorce attorney with a wealth of experience in unimaginable schemes, he was the only one I'd confided about the lottery win before cashing the ticket. He informed me that she'd filed for divorce this morning, pushing a petition across his desk. She claimed the ticket, purchased 3 weeks before our divorce finalization, was communal property, subject to division. Upon reading Brielle's statement, it was clear she had researched her case thoroughly. The ticket had been bought during the legally binding marriage period. Technically, we were still married. She asserted I'd utilized our shared checking account, which I had also used for 5 years of lottery tickets. Legally, she has a valid point, Malcolm stated. The timing favors her. Flipped to page 4, I responded. He leafed through the petition and halted, his eyebrows lifting. Brielle wasn't simply demanding half the winnings. She was alleging I had intentionally concealed the win, bought the ticket in secret, and aimed to defraud her of her rightful share. She sought the entire $3 million+ compensation for emotional distress. Malcolm whispered softly, "She's aiming for everything," I acknowledged. "If she can prove you were hiding assets during divorce proceedings," she won't be able to because it didn't occur. I purchased that ticket on a Tuesday afternoon at the same convenience store I've frequented for years. The same ticket I'd been buying weekly since my father passed away. The same numbers. The clerk recognizes me by name. Malcolm leaned back. "Didn't you inform her after your victory in the lottery?" "No, I didn't. By then she had moved Connor into our room and changed the locks on me. The next morning I received divorce papers. Can your timeline be verified?" I retrieved my phone and presented a folder containing evidence I'd been compiling for months, texts from her when she locked me out, pictures of Connor's car in our driveway at 11 p.m., the locksmith invoice dated 2 days before I checked the lottery numbers, and the divorce petition filed the day after I was locked out. Malcolm examined each piece of evidence. "This is strong, but they might claim you're vindictive and concocting a timeline to hide assets." "Let's discuss the text she doesn't know I saved." I had backed up Brielle's messages 6 months before the divorce, not because I suspected infidelity then, but due to my meticulous data backup habits. My IT background made it a natural habit. All our household devices were part of an automated cloud backup system. When she requested her removal from the service following our separation, I carried out the action promptly. However, I had already archived everything up until the day she asked. It was entirely legal. It was my backup system, my cloud account, data from devices on our common network. I displayed the folder to Malcolm on my laptop. Within were 1,200 messages between Brielle and Connor, spanning over a 14-month period. Messages that began innocuously discussing a shared client account, then gradually transformed into something else. "Check the dates," I told Malcolm, who scrolled through. His face grew stern as the affair had commenced 9 months before she filed for divorce. There were messages about hotel reservations, lies she told me, and calculations regarding how long she needed to wait before leaving to maximize the settlement. 3 weeks following my lottery victory, I hadn't shared the news with anyone except Malcolm. However, Brielle sent a message to Connor, stating he seemed odd lately, possibly aware of our relationship or simply resigned to it. Regardless, she was filing for divorce on Monday, ensuring readiness for moving in by Wednesday, wanting Connor completely out before he attempted to claim anything, as the house was her primary interest. Connor's reply indicated awareness of Brielle's legal actions concerning their business accounts, with his lawyer confirming that Connor kept all financial matters under the company name, resulting in alimony payments but safeguarding his business. However, he expressed a desire for Connor to vacate, finding the house worth the trouble. It transpired that Connor was unaware of the lottery ticket. Malcolm disclosed this information slowly. He had remained oblivious to his win until after Brielle filed for divorce and didn't cash it until after the divorce settlement was finalized, leading to speculation about how she could claim he won during proceedings. I opened a new folder on this matter. Due to Connor's discovery, let me show you this text from 2 weeks ago. Connor to Brielle. Holy smokes, your ex just struck it rich, 3 million. My buddy at First National witnessed him cashing the ticket. Brielle, did you know this a couple of weeks back? Connor, yes, he's been keeping it a secret all this time. Brielle, we were still married when he bought it. I can claim half and potentially more if he was concealing it. Connor, are you certain about this? Brielle, I'm reaching out to my lawyer immediately. Malcolm leaned back in his chair. She's building her argument on unfounded assumptions. She didn't care about any lottery winnings until Connor's buddy breached banking confidentiality to inform him. Now, she intends to accuse me of fraud. Can you verify when you learned about the win? I pulled out a thick file. The lottery ticket is time-stamped. I can obtain the convenience store security footage confirming my purchase. I verified the numbers on the lottery website 3 days following the draw. There's a log of my login activity. I contacted you, Malcolm, on the same day, as reflected in your phone records. I scheduled the appointment to redeem it 2 weeks later, post-divorce finalization, with the bank keeping records of all transactions. Her text suggests she didn't know about it until told by Connor's friend. This implies her accusation of fraud is a projection. As she discovered money she had no claim to and chose to lie, Malcolm began documenting details. Although this evidence is strong, Trevor, she'll fight fiercely for the $3 million, preparing for a brutal court battle. Let her fight. I have other plans. I presented the final piece, an old message thread from Riel to her sister Kaylee, dated 3 days prior, expressing doubts about having rights to the ticket. Trevor's attorney thinks it's unlikely he'll fight for a larger share, opting instead for a 40% settlement to avoid court, which would still yield over $1 million. This amount could help clear his business debts, enabling him to start anew along with Connor. Kaylee contemplates a scenario where Trevor refuses to settle. In this case, she would emotionally appeal to the judge during trial about Trevor's abandonment, distance, and secret lottery playing, which might sway sympathy towards her as a wife. Malcolm has read her statement multiple times. He suspects she is admitting to using strategic deception in pursuit of money that isn't rightfully hers, essentially confessing to fraud. Trevor poses a direct question. Did you know about the affair before he won the lottery? His answer is negative, but he admitted suspicion 2 weeks prior to her lockout. However, he had no proof until after the win, which was mere coincidence and timing. Lastly, he asserts his certainty that he did not use knowledge of the win to manipulate the divorce timeline. Malcolm, papers were served to you, actions she initiated prior to my employment with you. You questioned the veracity of my statement. I nodded in response. However, I have the proof to back it up, and this is about to get messy. I'm no longer interested in being the nice guy she thinks I am. A court date was set for 6 weeks ahead. During this period, Patricia Holloway, Brielle's lawyer, attempted various tactics, submitting motions accusing me of destroying evidence, requesting access to all my devices and accounts, scheduling depositions to portray me as a calculated wrongdoer. I complied with each request, provided complete records, endured 8 hours of hostile questioning where Patricia aimed to make me confess to prior knowledge and intentional concealment of assets for deceitful purposes against Brielle. I responded to every query in a composed manner, truthfully, observing as Patricia's confidence waned when my statements didn't contradict the evidentiary facts. 2 weeks prior to the trial, Malcolm submitted our countermotion. We weren't merely reacting to Brielle's claim, we were launching fraud accusations. The evidence included every text message, each timeline discrepancy, and every piece of proof demonstrating that Brielle had no knowledge or claim to the lottery winnings until Connor's banker friend breached privacy to inform them. We also presented her admissions to her sister about the case being a money grab. The next day, Patricia phoned Malcolm. "Your client is making a mistake," she said. "This will only anger the judge." "Who are you referring to?" Malcolm asked. "The person with meticulous documentation or the one who admitted in writing that she's fabricating evidence for compensation?" The call ended swiftly. Connors attempted to contact me once, a voicemail left at 11 p.m., his voice slightly slurred. Trevor, man, listen, this has gotten out of hand. Brielle is just worried about money. Maybe we can all meet and work something out. I hadn't intended for things to escalate between us in this manner. I removed it and forwarded the voicemail record to Malcolm. On the day of the hearing, I donned my most formal charcoal suit, purchased for my father's funeral. Brielle arrived in a costly cream dress, pricier than my monthly rent. Connor, beside her, wore an extravagant suit I remembered from our business days. He was always above his means, financially dressed. Patricia appeared self-assured. Brielle seemed both righteous and wounded. Connor looked uneasy. Judge Amy Thornton, aged 56, was renowned for her no-nonsense judgments and a strong dislike of fraud. Malcolm was delighted when we drew her. Initially, Patricia presented Brielle's case. She discussed the timing of the ticket purchase during marriage, the use of joint account funds, my questionable actions, and the failure to reveal the winnings during divorce proceedings. My client has been devastated, Patricia claimed. Brielle testified, her voice trembling as she recounted the dissolution of her marriage. It wasn't only the betrayal that ended their union, but also discovering her ex-spouse had secretly won a substantial amount in the lottery and intentionally concealed it to avoid sharing it according to law. Had you known your husband was buying lottery tickets? Patricia questioned. No, Brielle responded. He must have kept it hidden. A note was written to Malcolm, which she had been ridiculed for during the following 5 years. Patricia persisted with her inquiry. When did you learn of his lottery win? Brielle replied. Just a few weeks ago, someone spotted him cashing the ticket and informed us. I couldn't fathom he'd kept it secret. Did I immediately understand it was marital property? No, I wasn't aware of its legal standing, but I knew it felt unjust that he'd won money during our marriage and never mentioned it. Patricia offered a nod of empathy in response. Malcolm rose from his seat, remaining quiet before gazing at Brielle for a while. He inquired, Mrs. Whitmore, you testified that you were unaware your husband played the lottery. Is that correct? She replied, Yes, I never saw him buy tickets. Malcolm then moved towards our table and retrieved a folder. Addressing the judge, he stated, I'm presenting Exhibit A, 3 years of joint checking account statements. Your Honor, you will see weekly purchases at Quick Stop Convenience for $5 labeled as lottery, occurring each week during this period. He then distributed copies to the judge and Patricia. Brielle's expression became stoic. These are joint account statements, Malcolm continued, with both parties having access and receiving monthly updates. Mrs. Whitmore, you persist that you did not notice these recurring charges? I was not attentive to every minor transaction. She conceded, fair enough. Now let's discuss when you learned of the lottery win. You mentioned someone told you a few weeks ago. Who was the person? Brielle looked at Connor. A friend of Connor's. Connor Hastings, your current partner. Yes, how did Mr. Hastings' friend know about the lottery win? I'm not sure. He spotted Trevor at the bank. He saw him handling confidential banking matters. Did this friend work at the bank? Patricia rose. Objection, irrelevance. Your Honor, the relevance is whether my client's private financial information was unlawfully accessed to establish this entire case. Judge Thornton leaned closer. I'll permit it. Mrs. Whitmore, please answer the question. I believe he does. Yes, so a bank employee saw my client engaging in confidential transactions and shared that information with someone else who informed you, leading to this lawsuit alleging fraud. I initiated the lawsuit because it was marital property. Let's delve into that. When did you file for divorce? Brielle paused. Approximately 10 months ago. And when was the divorce finalized? 4 months ago. And when was the lottery ticket purchased? Malcolm displayed a document indicating the ticket was bought on April 16. Your divorce was finalized May 8, 3 weeks later. The ticket was technically purchased during your marriage, but you claim to have filed for divorce about 10 months ago. To clarify, you filed March 21 of last year, 26 days before the lottery ticket was bought. Can you explain why you filed for divorce? You said your marriage wasn't working. Could it be linked to your relationship with Mr. Hastings? Tricia objected. My client's personal relationships are not on trial here. Malcolm remained calm, stating, Mrs. Whitmore has alleged that my client was distant and secretive. I'm establishing the true nature of their marriage. The judge overruled, allowing you to respond. Brielle's tone grew frosty. Connor and I didn't begin seeing each other until after I filed for divorce. Whitmore, you earlier stated that you became aware of the lottery win just a few weeks ago. Is this statement still accurate? Yes. And prior to this revelation, you had no awareness or concern regarding any lottery winnings. That's correct. There were no conversations between you and anyone regarding potential lottery funds your ex-husband might have received. No, that is also true. However, Malcolm presented Exhibit B, recovered text messages between Mrs. Whitmore and Mr. Hastings. Brielle's self-assured demeanor faltered. Malcolm proceeded to read the texts aloud. "Your ex won $3 million in the lottery," stated Mr. Hastings, dated 5 weeks ago. Mrs. Whitmore responded, "We were still legally married when he purchased it. I can claim half. I may even be entitled to more than half if he concealed it." The courtroom fell quiet. Even Patricia appeared taken aback. "Whitmore, this contradicts your earlier statement of being unsure about the legal nature of the winnings, suggesting that you were well aware it could be marital property and devised a plan to optimize your claim." Meanwhile, Brielle, focused on the judge's document, failed to notice her attorney's attempt at whispering something. Malcolm revealed further evidence, Exhibit C, conversations between Mrs. Whitmore and her sister Kaylee. In one message, Mrs. Whitmore mentioned not believing she had rights to the ticket, but acknowledged her lawyer considered it a long shot. She also anticipated Trevor would agree to a 40% settlement to avoid court. Malcolm hinted at a possible theatrical performance on the stand, describing how Mrs. Whitmore planned to portray Trevor as an absent husband and lottery player, leveraging sympathy from the judge for her marital claim. Brielle turned pale, then red, while Connor kept his gaze on the floor. "Judge Thornton, did you dispatch those communications?" They were personal discussions taken out of their original context. "Answer yes or no. I was merely expressing frustrations to my sister." "I didn't intend." "Resign," the judge stated firmly. Patricia was whispering anxiously to Brielle as she retreated to the plaintiff's table. Connor had shifted his seat away from both of them. "Malcolm summoned me to testify. He guided me through the entire sequence of events, such as when I bought the ticket using numbers I'd consistently played, when Brielle filed for divorce, when she evicted me and took in Connor, when I verified the lottery numbers 3 days post the draw, 2 days after receiving divorce papers." "Mr. Whitmore, upon learning of your win, what was your initial move?" "I contacted my lawyer, Malcolm Green, to inquire about my legal commitments related to the divorce." "What did he propose?" "The ticket was bought during our marriage, and I waited for the divorce to be final before cashing it to avoid complications. I adhered to this advice, cashing the ticket a week following the divorce decree." "Did you conceal your win from your ex-wife?" "No, I didn't inform her of it. However, by the time I discovered the win, our marriage had already ended, the locks had been changed, and divorce papers had been filed. We only communicated through lawyers at that point." "Was the lottery win used to influence the divorce proceedings?" "Absolutely not. She was the one who filed and set the terms. I consented to her requests because I wanted to end the divorce process. The lottery win occurred after everything else had already been initiated." Malcolm presented the judge with my lottery website login records, bank statements, convenience store receipt, and call logs. All evidence demonstrated that I won following Brielle's filing, verified the numbers after she served papers, and cashed it post-divorce. Patricia's cross-examination was lackluster. She attempted to imply I had knowledge of the win prior, but the irrefutable evidence proved otherwise. She endeavored to claim I should have disclosed it during hearings, yet I held no legal responsibility to disclose assets gained post-separation. Judge Thornton announced a half-hour pause. Upon resumption, her verdict was prepared. "I've perused all the evidence," she stated. "This is one of the most straightforward instances of attempted deception in this courtroom." Mrs. Whitmore confessed on record that she doubted her entitlement to these funds. She concocted plans to distort court proceedings with false testimonies. She intentionally misrepresented facts before this bench. Once more, Brielle wept, but there was no empathy left in the room. Mr. Whitmore bought a lottery ticket during matrimony using funds that had consistently been utilized for lottery purchases over the years. Mrs. Whitmore filed for divorce 26 days prior to this transaction. 1. The ticket was cashed following the completion of the divorce proceedings. Mrs. Whitmore holds no rights to these resources. Her appeal is entirely rejected. Patricia rose. "Your Honor, my client—" I wasn't done. "I'm transferring this case to the district attorney for examination of perjury and attempted fraud. Mrs. Whitmore lied in this court under oath. This is not a matter taken lightly." Connor stood abruptly and departed, leaving Brielle behind with Patricia struggling to manage the situation. Moreover, Judge Thornton proceeded, "I'm ordering Mr. Whitmore to be compensated for costs and attorney fees. Mrs. Whitmore will bear all legal expenses incurred while defending against this baseless lawsuit." The gavel was lowered. Leaving the courtroom, Malcolm shook my hand. "That exceeded my expectations. She brought this upon herself," I said. Every move was deliberate. "The DA investigation likely won't lead anywhere," Malcolm cautioned. "They seldom do, but it'll be on record." 2. The ticket was cashed post-divorce finalization. Mrs. Whitmore is unable to lay claim to these resources. Her appeal is dismissed in its entirety. Patricia stood up. Your Honor, my client— I wasn't finished yet. This case is being passed on to the district attorney for examination of perjury and attempted fraud. Mrs. Whitmore swore falsely in this courtroom. This act is not taken lightly. Connor stood swiftly and left, with Brielle still there, Patricia scrambling to maintain control. Furthermore, Judge Thornton continued, I'm directing Mr. Whitmore to be reimbursed for costs and legal fees. Mrs. Whitmore will be accountable for all expenses incurred while defending against this baseless lawsuit. The gavel was banged down. Exiting the courtroom, Malcolm shook my hand. That surpassed my anticipation. She orchestrated her own predicament, I said. Every move was calculated. The DA investigation probably won't yield any results, Malcolm advised. They rarely do, but it'll be on record. 3. After the divorce was finalized, the ticket was cashed. Mrs. Whitmore has no right to these funds. Her appeal is rejected entirely. Patricia rose. Your Honor, my client— I wasn't done speaking yet. This case is being transferred to the district attorney for investigating perjury and attempted fraud. Mrs. Whitmore lied in this court under oath. This act is not taken lightly. Connor stood up abruptly and exited, leaving Brielle behind. Patricia was trying to manage the situation. Judge Thornton added, I'm requiring Mr. Whitmore to be compensated for costs and attorney fees. Mrs. Whitmore will bear all legal expenses incurred while defending against this baseless lawsuit. The gavel dropped. Malcolm extended his hand outside the courtroom. That was more than I had hoped for. She brought her predicament upon herself, I said. Every move was deliberate. The DA investigation will likely not be fruitful, Malcolm warned. They seldom are, but it'll be on record. A text arrived on my phone, unknown number. I didn't put her in jail, merely wanted to make her suffer. Subsequent message from Patricia. You didn't have to publicly shame her like that, Connor. I ignored the message and blocked the number. After 3 weeks, she submitted legal documents to withdraw from the case and requested a payment plan for attorney fees. Brielle couldn't pay the $47,000 owed in a single sum. We agreed on monthly installments of $500, which would take 8 years to clear. Connor's venture— one started with funds I suspected were withdrawn from joint accounts prior to my intervention— collapsed 6 months later. Through mutual acquaintances, I learned he had returned to live with his parents in Ohio. Brielle kept the house for a year before selling it at a loss and moving to an apartment nearby, a cheaper, smaller dwelling, the kind she swore she'd never reside in. I utilized lottery winnings to invest in commercial property. A simple approach with consistent returns and long-term safety is preferred. Additionally, I established a trust fund in my father's name to assist relatives requiring educational aid, reflecting his emphasis on learning. The lottery numbers were his birthday, a symbolic choice that sometimes prompted me to drive past our old house. A new family resides there now, children playing in the yard that I mowed every Sunday for 7 years. I no longer harbor anger, nor do I feel vindicated. Instead, I am grateful for my diligence with records, patient waiting, and emotional restraint. The lesson my father tried to impart is clear. Truth is a potent weapon, but only effective if one waits for it to take effect. Brielle believed I was too kind-hearted to defend myself. She was correct. I was kind, not weak, and I never acted carelessly. The lottery ticket is now framed in my office, not as a trophy, but as a reminder. $3 million transformed my existence not due to the money itself, but because it taught me the distinction between being compassionate and becoming a pushover, between confiding in individuals and recording facts, between having faith that someone will act honorably and preparing for when they fail to do so. My father would often say luck is when readiness encounters opportunity. He was correct. I had been unknowingly preparing my entire life, and the opportunity just so happened to arrive accompanied by 6 winning lottery numbers and an ex-wife naive enough to text her entire fraudulent plan to her sibling.